Today on Design, Build, and Fix, we're going to show you how to sticker and stack lumber so it properly air dries. If you like the content, make sure you click the subscribe button, and as always, give me a thumbs up or leave a comment because that truly helps. Alright, let's jump right into the video. Now that you got your log sawn into boards, it's now time to sticker and stack it to get it to air dry to help prevent mold from growing on your boards. Now, air drying is going to do a couple of things for you. It's going to prevent mold from growing on your boards, and it's also going to allow the boards to dry out evenly. And even if you're going to kiln dry your lumber at some point, you're definitely going to want to still sticker and stack it and air dry it, because that lowers the time that it has to take for the kiln to actually bring it down to the moisture content that you want. Alright, so now that we have a picture of what I did when I stacked it, let me give you some of the parameters that you want to pay attention to when you're sticker and stacking your lumber. The first thing let's talk about is the distance off the ground that your lumber needs to be. Anything more than 12 inches is recommended. So 12 inches is usually the minimum. I would have to say if you're stickering, stacking this outside, I would say a little bit higher than 12 inches, but because I'm doing this in my garage, I will sticker and stack it and leave it about 12 inches off the ground. The next thing that you want to pay attention to is the spacing for your foundation and for your stickers. The rule of thumb is 24 inches is the most. Depending upon the thickness of your lumber, this is 4/4 stuff. If it's 4/4 stuff, you can actually get away with 24 inches, but I would recommend going a little bit narrower to help prevent sagging between your stickers. And so these boards are about 10'6" to 10'4", somewhere in there, and so I chose 20 inches as my spacing for my stickers. The next thing that you have to understand is you want to make sure that your stickers are straight above the one below it. Now if you take a look at some of these stickers, they're not perfect, but as you can see, this one is still above this one. One thing you want to steer away from is putting a sticker here and then putting a sticker over here and here, because you're going to get some sag in there, and that's something that you're definitely not going to want. Now if you're going to be actually air drying this lumber outside, you're definitely going to want to put a roof on it, and that roof should be pitched. Whether you pitch it from left to right or from front to back, you definitely want it to be pitched, so what's going to happen is any rainwater that comes down, it's going to run off that roof that you have. Now the overhang on your roof should be at least 24 inches on all sides. That will help prevent rain that is driven in by water from getting into your pile. And the next thing you're going to want to do is make sure you have at least 6 inches between your top board and your roof. That's going to allow airflow to get through. Now when you stack this outside, you want your prevailing wind to go in this direction through the pile. Don't put it on the ends. You want to put it through this way, because that's going to allow that to get that moisture that's coming out of the boards and get it out of the pile to help it breathe. Okay, so now that you have that done, you're definitely going to put some weight on the top, just because the weight is going to be the most important thing when it comes to getting these things from twisting when it's drying. And so all I did is I had some extra landscaping items that I had that I used for a retaining wall, and I just used those on top. Now these things weigh about 20 pounds, so 20, that's 40, you know, I got, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got about 400 pounds sitting on top of this pile, plus the weight of the wood that's on top and going down to the bottom. Definitely going to have weight on the top. That's going to prevent your roof from blowing off, and 2, it's going to prevent the boards from twisting when they dry. Alright, so let's talk about what lumber should go where in your pile. The rule of thumb is that if you're outside, you want your least valuable lumber to be on the very bottom, because that one's going to be the most susceptible to moisture from the ground. And you want your most valuable to be somewhere in the middle, just because that's going to take away from the moisture from the ground it's going to have a lot of weight on top of it. It's going to prevent it from twisting. So in my example, because I'm in the garage, I put some of my most valuable stuff on the ground because I didn't have to worry about moisture that's coming out of the concrete, which is going to be very minimal. And so I put those best boards on the bottom. So these first 3 rows or so are my best boards, and then we started going up into some of the lower quality lumber. Now, the other thing that I did is, because I'm in a garage, I am not going to have prevailing winds. So what I did is I actually set up a bunch of fans in front of it and opened these windows. That's going to help the airflow. And I also realized, and I knew that this was going to only be here a couple weeks before I took it to the kiln. And so on nice days, I made sure the garage doors were open and the windows were open and the fans were on to make sure that they provide some breathing room or air to go through our pile. All right, so now that we know the parameters that you want to stay between when you're stickering and stacking your lumber, let's talk about setting up the foundation, which is the most important part of this process, I believe. And we're stuck to the 20 inches on center. That's what we wanted. And on top of that, I put a 2x4. These are about 4-foot 2x4s, and then I put a sticker on top of that. The sticker on top of the 2x4 is going to allow more airflow underneath where the board is in contact with the sticker. And so you're going to want to make sure that your foundation is level from left to right and from front to back. You do not want it to be not level from left to right or front to back, because you'll have some twisting in there and the boards will twist no matter how much weight you have on top of it. And so at this point, I made sure that we're level left to right, front to back. As you can see, there's shims that I've placed under there, and that's going to work perfectly fine. All right, so now that the foundation is set up, this is actually the easy part. All you're going to do is make sure you put your sticker on and then place your boards on it. The one thing I do want to share with you is that the spacing between this board and the board that's to the right behind it, there needs to be airflow. So a space there is also required. So you're going to put a board and then a space and a board and a space all the way from front to back. That's going to allow air to come in from the bottom if it had to. It could raise up through the top and get its way out that way. So you're definitely going to want to make sure you leave a space between there. And then, as we talked about before, make sure that the stickers are straight on top of each other, and then you have your weight that's be put on the top. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is that these stickers that I used are just some scrap plywood that I had left over that I ripped into about 1-inch rips. Some of them are a little bit bigger, but in general they're about 1 inch in width, and those will work fine. But some people, and I haven't tried it yet, but I think I will the next time, is they'll take 1-inch conduit, electrical conduit, cut it in half, and they'll either put the cup side down if it's on the outside. If it's on inside, it doesn't matter if the cup is up or the cup is down when it comes to cutting that conduit in half, and that's going to prevent sticker staining. So what happens sometimes is that when you put your boards down and then you put a sticker between it, there's a little bit of a stain between this board, the sticker, and the board itself. It's not a big deal because that usually planes off once you're getting into the building of your projects, but some people are using plastic stickers that they cut in half made out of 1-inch conduit. Alright, so now that everything's stickered and stacked, you have your foundation in, all your stickers are straight on top of each other, you have your weight that's on the top. The last thing I do, because I'm in my garage, is I place these fans in here. I just literally duct taped them to a board, and they're just standing there on low, and it's going to give us a gentle breeze that's going to cause the air to flow through the pile, come out the top. And as you can see, I have this window open, there's a window over here, and on days it's not raining, both of my garage doors are open, so that's going to give us plenty of airflow, and it's going to allow this to dry out relatively well. Now the next thing is, when it's raining out, I traditionally close my garage doors and lower these down because I don't want any extra moisture coming in. Not like it's really going to matter, but I usually close the doors, and then once it stops raining, I open the doors, and we're all back to the drawing process again. And at night, I usually close these down. I close it up and lock them, and then the air still flows through. A little bit of moisture is going to build up in the room, but not that much. And then in the morning, I open the windows and the doors, and we continue the drying process. All right, well, thanks for watching. If you like the content, click the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and leave a comment, because those truly do help. All right, we'll see you on the next video.